So the time has come to say goodbye. Now, what am I saying goodbye to? Well, it's actually my La Sportiva Karacals. So I've had my Karacals for, I think, right around 3 years. I could be off a little bit. All I remember is when they came out, I ordered them immediately because it was kind of La Sportiva's first go around with a more cushioned trail running shoe. And to me, that was like super I was super, super excited about it because previously a lot of La Sportiva's trail running shoes were kind of on the not as high cushion. They're not like Hoka's, but even like compared to like a counterpart like Scarpa, I feel like La Sportiva's always been on the thinner side of cushioning. Step forward to 2024, they just introduced a new model of trail running shoe that has way more cushioning and is more kind of like that ultra style shoe, something that can handle a lot of miles. But the Karacal was kind of the first one that Sportiva experimented with. And the Karacal, if you don't know, it's basically like a high cushion version of the Jackal. So if you like the Jackal, you'd probably like the Karacal. And for me, the Jackal didn't really fit me too well, but the Karacal did, and it's got kind of like a higher volume overall, kind of wider toe box. It's not as narrow, and the fit was kind of funky to begin with. And that was like a big thing that I noticed when I first got them is that when I first got the Karacals, I sized them the same as all my other Sportiva shoes. Like I sized them in a 44. That's the same size that I size my approach shoes, mountaineering boots, everything. And this 44 was definitely a tight 44. And actually, when I first got them, I thought I was going to have to return them because my toes were at the end. And honestly, it hurt to run in them. But those first few runs were kind of rough. It was definitely like, thought I was going to lose a toenail, thought I was bruising my toe. I think I did bruise the end of my toe. Like, there was just a bunch of things that I didn't like the shoes immediately. And the fact that the cushioning wasn't really indicative at first for what I was wanting to do. Because at that point, I really hadn't had a trail running shoe. I was kind of just getting into trail running, and I did have a phase where I was like really into trail running. But like I said, those first couple of go arounds with the shoe, that was not really comfortable. I like had to wear a certain sock, and then the certain sock didn't give me the best like blister protection. I was always getting blisters, and I was like, like this is a rough experience. But then a couple runs down the road, they started feeling a lot better. They started fitting better. And like the cushion, I guess, broke in a little bit. It wasn't as like, it was kind of weird because like the cushioning was good. And I think it's a bigger thing that shows with this shoe is that it was like Sportiva's first iteration with a high cushion shoe. And the cushioning is not plush. It's not plush really at all. It's kind of responsive. It's not like a quick responsive cushioning. It's definitely more like a, hey, there's less impact on the ground than you would with any of our other shoes. Like it's nothing like a Hoka, and it's definitely not like an Akasha from La Sportiva. It's kind of a weird foam. It kind of feels cheap in a way. But that's kind of like the weird thing is even though it feels kind of cheaply made, kind of like the approach shoes from Sportiva with their new line with the TX2 Evo and the TX4 Evo and kind of all those things. Those midsoles are kind of plasticky kind of feeling midsole, and that's kind of how this one feels a little bit. But so far, the durability of the midsole has been pretty good over the years. It didn't take many chunks out of it, and it's actually been all right. And then even when I transitioned the shoe from my main trail running shoe to being a training shoe, like I was still able to run comfortably in it. And that's ultimately what this shoe became, is it became my kind of training shoe and just a gym shoe. And it became a training shoe because I started figuring out what the limits of the shoe were. And I was maybe punching above the belt for what I was trying to do with it. And yeah, it definitely makes more sense of why I kind of transitioned it into my gym shoe. Just because, like, I think it's a good shoe for, like, recovery runs. But, like, if you're going to do a big, big day, there's definitely better shoes out there. And, again, this was one of those things where it was like this was Sportiva's first go around with a high cushion shoe. So, like, for what it is, it wasn't bad, but it's just how it's going to work with Sportiva is like the more higher cushion shoes that they make, the better and better that they'll become. And this really was just kind of like a Jackal reskin with more cushioning and a different style fit. So it's definitely really apparent that this is like their first go around. Like, I think I look at something in comparison to like a high cushion shoe, like the Scarpa Golden Gate ATR, I think it is. I think it's the ATR2 now that's out. Like, that's a very high cushion shoe from Scarpa, and it's kind of crazy to see that option from Scarpa, and still La Sportiva doesn't really have a good option like that. And even when they were going like, here's a high cushion shoe, this is still nothing. Like, I have the Hoka Speedgoat 5s, and like the amount of cushioning in the Hokas, like, it was a night and day difference in terms of ride for running on the trails. And yeah, it's one of those things that over time La Sportiva is going to hone it in. But as for the first iteration, it feels like a first iteration shoe. So why am I kind of retiring these shoes? Well, I think it's actually gotten to a point, as you can see right here, the lace is blue, and there's actually a couple other things that are happening to them. Like, the heel is starting to wear out, and like the tread it's pretty worn. Like, I'm a 4-foot striker, and you can see like it's getting worn down. And I think on this shoe, yeah, I've got points where the tread is just ripping. So ultimately, I'm retiring these just out of, I think they lost the battle to durability. I think it just ultimately came out to that. But, for what it's worth, they handled kind of everything I threw at them pretty well. And I was surprised by how long of a life that they had. Like, I would still train in these. I would still bring them to the gym and like run on a treadmill on them or do some like strength training. Like, I would still continue to do that with these shoes. But the laces is kind of I don't really want to go through the process of relacing these when I already know that they're already kind of falling apart. And like, I've even started to transition my Hokas into my kind of gym shoe now because those are starting to get worn out. So it's just natural to kind of just retire these. If you have any questions about the Karacals, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll try to get to it as soon as I can, and hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions. I've had a good chunk of time in these and a lot of miles on them, so hopefully I'll be able to answer any of your questions. With that being said, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.